Maskani, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University of Long Beach, a former city councilman for the city of Compton, and former Compton College Board of Trustees, and former Compton Unified School District Board of Trustees. I want to welcome you here to the Conscious Corner, where we have deep thinking and courageous questioning about issues that face the Black community and the community at large. We want to just say Asante Sana to Brother Rashaki, Maskani, who provides us this platform under the Community Education Network platform. And we want to welcome Brother Ernest McBride, historical and archivist for Ernest McBride Sr., and a community activist in all rights itself. We want to welcome also Brother Rahh from Detroit. Detroit's playing a major role in our struggle for voters' rights and the liberation of Black people from the chains of discrimination and racism in America. Tonight we're expecting for Danny Tabor, who is a former city councilman for the city of Inglewood and a consultant and currently a professor at Southwest Community College. And he was the former director of the Foundation for Southwest Community College. And we also have on the line, on the phone, Brother Barry Thomas, who is the most respected and honored behind the scenes leader of the African American Liberation Movement, especially at Cal State Long Beach, where he kept the Black Student Union going, kept Black Studies going, kept Overbound going, was responsible for the hiring of many Black administrators that came through. And he may intervene in a minute. There's so much to talk about tonight. So many things going on. This peace deal in the Middle East, as well as the gerrymandering, the Supreme Court getting ready to deal with Section 2 of the Voters' Right Bill in 1965 that said you can't take race under consideration for redistricting and anything really. And so we have some issues there, as well as the struggle against this privatization or the utilization of military people in the cities. So we're going to get some opinions from some of our panelists about that. But what do you think about the present administration under Donald Trump sending military people to the city? Do you agree with it? Do you accept his rationale? Or do you see something else?
I'm not really well versed on it. All I know is that they're kind of split. I see some of the brothers and sisters in Chicago saying that they welcome it, and then others fighting against it, saying it's beyond his authority. I know the governor of Illinois, and the mayor of the city, they're not for it. I hear some rumbling in the background saying it's an economic thing. It's about access to different monies when they're uh, keep the military out of the city. Others say that we we need they need just the presence of them. That the um, violence, the murder rate, and the violence in the city has gone down with their presence. So I'm waiting to hear those who are better versed uh, with this information, share that information so that I can be better informed.
So right now you have no opinion about
Well,
using
I
the
just,
military, sending the military into Democratic Party, Democratic mayors,
I don't want them here in
majority.
Detroit. I don't want them here in Detroit. I can only go by what I hear on YouTube and on the news, and I'm listening to these people speak for themselves. But personally, I don't see the need for them here. Our crime rate has been going down consistently for the last couple of years. I know it's a political ploy, but do they have any is there a good reason for them to be there? Is there a benefit for them to be, uh, say, in Chicago right now, or where else are they? Down in Louisiana?
No.
I forget where else they are, but I don't see any need for them here. The politicians say no in Chicago, the Democratic politicians, but some of the residents say yes. So, but I don't see any need for them here. And
Brother
I don't know
Mshinda,
if they're
you
breaking
there?
the law or not. It seems like if they were breaking the law, but I'm just confused today because the checks and balances, and I just don't. It seems like they got the Supreme Court on the run and the Constitution too. So, as I forestated, I'm waiting for somebody who's a little bit more, who's more knowledgeable about the law, to inform me so that I can be better informed and I can give a more intelligent answer.
Okay, Brother Mshinda, you there? Are you there, Mshinda? Ernest, how you feel about military?
I'm totally against that because now I spent like 6 years in the United States Army. And when they drafted me, we took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Now you get this guy that we got in office trying to be a dictator. And I've heard, I don't know the truth about it, but that he got, it was either 300 or 600 generals, big guys in the military, and gave a speech in front of him and told him directly, say, your mission is not that anymore, defend the Constitution. Your mission is to follow my whatever orders I give you. Well, that's totally wrong. See, and he pulled that, and then he told the generals, now anyone here that doesn't like it, you can retire. So you can see what he's trying to do. I don't know if he's lost his mind or what, but as a president, but because he's supposed to be protecting and defending the Constitution, and he's doing everything he can to tear it down. And then now, like as far as those troops, they have sent some troops to Oregon, but then they told them, well, don't do nothing, just go there, but don't do anything. But everywhere he sent troops, they were not needed. He tried to pull that crap about sending them to LA, and there was nothing wrong because the police can handle, and the sheriff's department, anything that go down here, they can handle it. And he sent those troops in, had them in, intimidating people and stuff is totally off the wall. And I'm totally against that because it's not doing any good and it's making things worse.
Mm.
So
Okay,
I'm
brother.
adamant about that. I mean, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of.
All right. Brother Rashaki.
Definitely not in favor of a military state, and which seemed like that's what he's about. And it points to the fact that whatever agenda he has, he wants to pull it, he want to carry it out. And no, I wouldn't ever want to have we already have police. So what do we need military to come in for? So it's and what Ernest is saying, if he did tell the generals that he not only lost his mind, he never had one. So I think it's just he's a joke when it comes to being a president. And then the people that allow it evidently don't care, or it's just he's a front for something else that's going on in the back room. So it's no, the military coming to the state, any city, no. No, it's the military is to defend the whole country. You know, it's not logical, but this is what we're dealing with. Okay, that's all I got to say. I got to take this call, but here's the guest.
Okay. Well, let me just say that. According to the Constitution, the whole purpose of the military is to defend the country from foreign threats and only to be used if there's an insurrection, if there is a situation where people are trying to overthrow state government or something like that. That's what the Constitution says. According to Trump, he can declare under his powers of state of emergency, and he can take over the National Guard in the state and federalize the National Guard and send them to a city just based on his word.
Yeah.
Even though other governments, our sitting governments say there's no crisis, there's no insurrection, and there's no destabilization. Let me give you an example. In Los Angeles, just the city of Los Angeles, they have over 10,000 police. Just police. Some civilians, but they have 10,000 of people working for the police department, and the majority are patrol officers. Second, you got the county sheriff. That's over all the county, and LA's in the county. You know, and they got 10,000 or more. Then you got the highway patrol. Then you got United States Marshals. You got the FBI agency in the city. And Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom said they didn't want him there. Some people said what Trump is trying to do is create insurrection so that he could justify sending Marines and Navy and Special Forces. They even talked about sending Special Forces to one state. Then at the same time, they have an issue with the concept of him trying to create his own military police, that he's the chief of police. You understand? Now, as he says, a lot of people are confused. Now in Chicago, they're fighting back. I haven't seen too many people coming out. You know, a lot of people want crime to go down, but it was already going down in Illinois. In the state of Illinois, the governor said, "Hey man, our crime is less than some of your Republican states and cities, but you ain't sending troops there." And Trump said that he was just sending them to Democratic places, except for, I think it was Tennessee, one of those states that welcomed him because they were just trying to give him a cover. But at the same time, when you have military people who protect federal ICE agents, in domestic affairs, and you don't rise up against it, it creates a problem for that. But I see here Danny Tabor's here. Is that correct, Rashaki?
Brother Rahh, good evening. Everyone, good evening.
Hey, Danny, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, but I'm going to switch out to my phone because my camera on my computer doesn't appear to want to work.
Okay.
So I'll be right back, gentlemen.
All right. Well, anyway, as I was saying, he said, there's some people, you're going to find a minority of people saying, oh, I don't have no problem with it. But the overwhelming majority of the people don't want to see military people at their parks, up and down the street, when they're going out to the movies or dinners, or military checkpoints, where they stop your car and ask you who the hell you are and where you're going. So there's a struggle there. But anyway, Danny, you back?
I am back. There we go, my brother.
All right. Well, we're going to get right into your presentation. We're going to get into Proposition 50. For those of you that don't know what Proposition 50 is, it's a bill that is generated by Governor Newsom to combat the Texas move to redistrict its state rather than wait for the 10 years in the census. They're doing it in preparation for the midterm vote by eliminating Black districts by gerrymandering. Gerrymandering comes from a snake that do a bunch of curling and things of this nature. And when it crawls, it curves. And that's where they get the term gerrymandering from. And so, Newsom, many Democratic people have been criticized the Democratic Party for not fighting enough against the Trump administration violations of the Constitution and just rough riding the cities and using executive orders to do what he want to do rather than getting legislation. We could have a better person here to talk about this, to educate us, because it's going to take, he said something very important. I don't know enough about the police, the Marines and the Army coming in. And I just want to wait and see. Well, this is what this program is about, Community Education Network. Education is the key so that you can educate others, encourage others to realize the deep threat this is, what Texas is doing and other red states are doing with their gerrymandering. We could have no better person to talk about this than a brother that's been in politics for well over 50 years. A brother that has been elected twice to the city of Inglewood, one of the most prosperous cities in LA County as far as, football, basketball stadiums and growing and growing and growing. And a sizable amount of middle-class working Black people that live there. And it used to be an apartment city for one time, but now it's building. They're building everywhere in Inglewood, and it's the home of the Inglewood Cemetery, which most people use in LA. But Danny Tabor was one of the most influential leaders during the 80s at Cal State Long Beach. He helped build the Black Studies, helped maintain and build the Black Student Union, laid the platform for Black students to get active in student government. And then he went on, graduated. He's now Dr. Dr. Daniel Tabor went on and got his PhD, and he's currently a professor at Southwest Community College. He's going to discuss, because he's been working with Mayor Bass, the governor, and he's been a consultant for all of them, which they consult him to get youth and to get people actively involved. He's a good friend of mine, good friend of Brother Barry Thomas, and we maintain communications all the time. He started the first youth BAPAC in the state of California. I remember that. I still got the videotape of that. And so he's very, very been, but not just about and then we ask questions about it and encourage others to vote yes. Go ahead, Barry.
Well, Brother Rahh, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. I wish I was young enough to be in college in the 80s. I was actually elected to the Inglewood City Council in 81. So it was the 70s where I followed you right on in 72 and used your leadership to stand on to make Long Beach State the representative school for Black students in the Black community at that time. So we're very proud of your legacy there and what you allowed us to accomplish in that space and time. So thank you very much. I wanted to just jump right in. I apologize for being a little late coming on. And Barry Thomas has called me 3 times since we've been holding here. So I'm gonna reach out to him when we get off the phone, and he might even be joining us. But Proposition 50, if I can, Proposition 50 is not a reaction. It is an appropriate strategy at a time in this country where this administration, this president and his acolytes who want to make him, in their mind, not just a dictator, but an aristocrat. You know, he'd love to be called king if he could make it happen. And where the Supreme Court has basically determined that gerrymandering the boundaries of elected representation is an appropriate strategy by their decision. So from a strategic standpoint, what is happening in California and other places around the country to a lesser extent is an attempt to balance the playing field before the upcoming elections, before the midterm elections. So this November, the voters in the state of California are being asked to vote yes by those of us who recognize this as a response to what has already been done in Texas, to vote yes on Proposition 50. And let me give a little background and history. In California, the people decided that they wanted to take the ability to draw district boundaries away from those who were already elected, and they voted to install a statewide redistricting committee, a redistricting process that has now taken place through 2 cycles, where the districts are drawn according to local input and according to appropriate representation, both of populations based on income, ethnicity, geographic area, and a host of other issues and topics that were considered in how the districts would be raised. So that was us attempting to truly exercise democracy and to give every voter the opportunity to be represented by someone in their area in the way in which they felt to be represented. That was something that was pushed around the country. We were one of the first to do it. Other states also voted to have independent redistricting committees. What this administration has done, and I can't say just the president, because I really believe he's just the puppet that, you know, the plan, Project 2025, was clear that this is just one of the strategies, many strategies that was articulated in that plan that is being implemented through his administration. And clearly it is an attempt to institutionalize white supremacy, not just talk about it, not just have it out front, but to basically say, not only will we do these things that will clearly give advantage to a minority population, the white population in this country, but we will do it in the face of all legal means as well. And we will get the courts, particularly the Supreme Court, to justify our actions and to say that they are legal. Now, so that leaves us, then the only strategy is to then begin to utilize the electoral process and the political processes within our state to balance that playing field nationally. In Texas, they created 5 new Republican districts by reducing the voting power of Black communities around the state, Black and brown communities around the state, and created clear, manageable districts for Republicans to be elected in. They did that. The lawsuit sent them to the state court, then was appealed to the federal courts, and then finally appealed to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, heck yeah, they can gerrymander if they want to. They're the state authority, and we support their right to self-determine what to do. So what we're doing in California, not by legislative action, because the voters voted to create these independent redistricting committees and the redistricting process, an initiative is placed on the ballot, supported by the governor and the legislature, to change the redistricting process back to where it was, but with input from the population, so that we can designate a new redistricting process in the short term and restructure the districts, adding potentially 5, possibly more districts in the state of California, giving us more representation in the Congress, so that should the representatives in Texas be elected in November in their state elections to the Congress, that we will have the ability to counter what they do at the midterm election process. So that's it in the broad stroke sense, and there are elements of it that have been quite confusing. The TV ads, the commercials, they've now gotten more comical. But in the beginning, it was clear that the largest funder of the Republican Party in the state and a major contributor to 47's campaign coffers and to Republican strategies and initiatives around the country was funding this initiative, utilizing the voice of the people, because those messages are the messages that we use to get the redistricting legislation passed. And all they're doing is attempting to run that playbook back on us, but that's to preserve their right to use gerrymandering in other states to gain an advantage. So this is our effort, and I say our because it needs to be our collective effort to balance the playing field and to provide us with some resources and some tools by which we can counter what is already being done and what will continue to be done by this administration.
Any questions, anybody?
No, because that's exactly the way I understood it to go. It's just a temporary thing. And then it kind of made me kind of think back. Now through restrictive covenants and stuff, you restricted Black people to the ghettos. You moved out. Okay. And then we got smart and started, get out and get that vote out, man. That one vote means something to people, and then people starting to vote, and they see how powerful this vote is now, and now they want to try to snatch it away.
Not trying to. They are in some states snatching it away.
Because I see they got rid of one civil rights thing, and on the paper today, they trying to get rid of another, the Voting Rights Act thing.
That's right.
So trying to get rid of that. So yeah, I think it's appropriate. Ordinarily, I would say, well, hey, we shouldn't be doing this, but we should be doing it. And I encourage all my friends to yes vote, to get on to that poll and vote this in.
Now, let me.
You there? You there yet? All right, brother, I hear your position. Brother, I hear.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I mean, Trump is going to do what he wants to do to punish his enemies, and positions that he's taken. Earlier, he was against using the federal troops.
We're talking about redistricting now.
Oh, redistricting. Yeah. Well, redistricting that. Well, He's
gerrymandering. Texas versus
same thing,
California.
right? Well, this is
Yeah.
nothing new. This is nothing new. This is what they do. They tried it here in Michigan too. So
Yeah.
this is what they do. I'm gonna listen to
Okay.
Tabor.
Let me
He's really
let me see if we can. I want to stay on that, and I have trouble saying his name, so I'm gonna say 47. So my initial, and I've been a lifelong Democrat, but I'm comfortable criticizing the party when I think they've not stood up and represented us effectively. So I want to take you all the way back to the beginning of 45's first term, 47's first term, when the Congress moved for impeachment. And I want to, and I bring this up because this is what has set where we are in motion. When the Congress, a Democratic House of Representatives, and a Democratic influenced Senate went through the impeachment process, the
Along with
strangest
some
thing happened. So I'm sorry, Brother Rahh.
Some Republicans voted with the Democrats too.
Some, right, to impeach. And people who were subpoenaed during that process were allowed to say, well, my boss told me I didn't have to come and talk to you all, so I'm not coming. And the Democratic leadership, at least in my estimation, I'm not a lawyer, I didn't go to law school, did something that I've never thought was possible. They allowed someone to receive a subpoena and say, I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Now, if you and I received a subpoena from the traffic court and didn't show up, the popo gonna knock on the door.
Yeah.
And they're gonna come to our job, to our church, to our home, and march us down to the jail. And we're gonna sit in that cell until we appear in court. Had the Democratic Party showed the fortitude at that time, the Democratic leadership at that time, to elect some of those folks and arrest them based on their failure to appear, based on the subpoena that they were given, and put them in jail, they would have rolled over on that grifter 45, and we wouldn't have him as president at this time. But we didn't do that. So now what we're dealing with is retribution, right? He is clear. He has said, I am vindictive, an eye for an eye, and he is using every tool, every resource, every mechanism he can and will to go after the people he believes are the most harmful to who he is and what he stands for. Now, the question is whether those of us who are not in that process are going to be strong enough to stand up with those who have stood up and say, no, we're not having it like that. We're coming at you with every resource available to us, and we're going to proclaim democracy in our image and not this soft rollover pedal hope everybody gets along democracy that we have. So, what I'm saying is we need to vote not only yes on 50, but we need to continue to organize to structure our relationships around the country to help others who are struggling with this repressive, oppressive mentality coming out of Washington at the local level and at the state level, and help folks who are part of our consciousness get elected and represent us in state houses across the country and in the courts across the country.
Okay. Rashaki?
I fully agree with what Daniel's saying. You have to be a part of the process and fight. So, I mean, with what he's saying, it seemed to make sense to me. So that's what I'll roll with.
I already voted yes. I'm going to get that straight. I put it on Facebook too. I put a copy of my ballot with the mark and saying here's everybody else. Now the reason I'm doing it because I still don't think that the Democratic Party is explaining it in a way in which a language lay people can understand. They're explaining it in a political perspective. They're saying that what Texas did was take 5 states 5 black representatives off the books by their gerrymander. And they don't understand that and that's not all they did. By taking those 5 representatives that were in black communities, they split the black communities and put them in white communities. That's how you dilute the black vote. In other words,
That's gerrymandering.
Yeah, they took some of the black people who had voted together for years and put them in white districts where they're a minority. So not only did they get rid of the 5 seats, they diluted the black vote, collective vote, by putting it in majority white districts.
That's
and
right.
in that way, whatever those districts come out with, no matter how the black people vote, they can't, it's null and void because the majority district that they're in is white. And they're doing it, and they're planning to do it into other states. So California said, listen, we're going to get Proposition 50, and we're going to dilute the white vote in white areas so that we can and empower, take the black areas, because where black people live in many white districts, they live in the same area, and put them back into a black area. And that these white people that were in those 5 districts in California that were elected officials would lose their seat in Congress to balance out what Texas is doing. Then the Republican Party is putting out commercials that California had voted that independent districts would choose how to redistrict. They have special committees, independent, that every 10 years will design the district. So the Republican Party is saying they're taking away your power, and running a game on you. And they got Schwarzenegger, who's a Republican, and big money by everybody that's behind that bill saying no are Republicans. But not one of them said anything about Texas. There's nothing about them saying, well, why didn't you take this position with Texas?
Right.
But you just dealing with California. I just think that the Democratic Party needs to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more organizing in local educational communities like what we're doing right now. Because I reached out to the governor's office, I reached out to Mike Gibson office, I reached out to Laura, all of them said, hey, look, come and get on our platform and discuss this. Let's start educating the people. I don't see Maxine Waters, them out there aggressively enough, realizing how serious this is. And not only for this issue, for many issues. They're fundraising. That's what they're doing, fundraising. And because assembly people have to run every 2 years, I can understand that. But the state senators, the state assembly senators, should be the major organizers. Now, back in the 60s, they used to have campaign offices in the local community. Now they just have campaign representatives. In other words, I think Barbara Calhoun is a representative for Law, whatever her name, the state senator. But they're not spending the money. We should have signs all over the community. We should have door walkers all over the community. But times have changed, and they try to use social media, not realizing that the majority of Black people don't use social media for politics. They use it to watch booty calls and music.
It's
And
entertainment.
yeah, and games. Play games all day like the kids. They worse than the kids. You be see grown people playing games. Even LeBron James got a game out called Get the King or something. So
I'm talking about me.
Go ahead, Ernest.
I used to play Texas Hold'em, and that's it. And then email, because I don't, most political stuff I read on there, I say, first thing I ask myself, is this true or not?
With
Because
AI,
I see so many false and lies on social media, I hate to even look at it,
Yeah.
That's
I'm
what I
pull
do.
up for
Press Telegram newspaper. I take that newspaper just to look in there, and I know they're Republican slanted. Everything in there is slanted as hell, And I threatened my wife. Said, "Why do you pay for it?" I said, "I don't know, but it just makes me mad. Some of the crap they come out with, But but I don't know, and then I looked at my daughter because she looked at CNN and all that, and then she just clues me in, boy.
Okay, Daniel, you want to respond?
Yeah, we can't. Well, let's say we need to stop seeing politics as a game and understand it as a process. And by that I mean we need to see that it is information, it's representation, it's active voice, it's constant, it's 24/7. We miss out if on the world stage, we miss out on probably 80% of the news and information that's out there because we restrict ourselves to only receiving it from US television and media outlets. If you're not listening to Al Jazeera, if you're not listening to the BBC sometimes, if you're not listening to external news programs, you don't know
Democracy Now.
Yeah, you Democracy Now. You don't know what is going on, what our projection is out in the world. And then you come to the US and the news that you see on television, the local networks and even the national networks is old by the time they spit it out. It has already happened and it's done. And they're trying to interpret it for their audience, whoever that audience may be, and it most often isn't us. So the perspective that we need to have, the voices of Rowan Martin and others can be elevated. This program provides information that the general population needs to have, and needs to hear, because it provides an opportunity for them to question what they've already heard and to seek the truth. And in that process, we have to continually educate and motivate and influence our folks to ask the question, to seek the information, and not just settle for what they're being told and what they're being fed in their comfortable way.
Yeah, but then, see, Republicans see politics as war without violence.
Oh, no, it's war with violence. They just don't recognize violence like we recognize violence.
Yeah,
I mean, the Capitol insurrection on the 6th of January was violence.
I'm talking about the process of electoral politics.
Yes,
campaign and voter registration, organizing and educating people to their perspective.
Yes, and raising money. Don't leave that out.
Yeah, they look at, and they do it year round.
That's right.
Year round.
There are no holidays.
Trump lost, he started back. He never stopped campaigning.
That's right.
My issue with the Democrats is they only come around when they need votes. Second, they don't look at it as war.
That's right.
They look at it as a process. That's what hurt Biden.
Mm-hmm.
All the good he did, he didn't get credit for, because he didn't know how to present it in a way in which people could see that their lives were better. But at the same time, the Republicans demonize everybody. I mean, they demonize everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And they see you as an enemy, and they talk like that. I mean, they really talk like that. They talk like that Democrat. And right now, Trump is saying we got to deal with Democrats. Um, from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, he's declared war, and that's how he comes at all of this.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, so I mean, you look at some of the committee hearings, and you wonder, how is this even possible? How can an appointed representative of the president speak to the elected representatives in such a derogatory way? You know, how can you not answer questions and attempt to attack the questioner when you're supposed to be there to give credible information to the congressional leaders who are responsible for formulating policy, when they're asking questions about how, you know, what did you know, how did it happen, and like. And then I'm wondering, well, wait a minute, don't they still have the authority to hold these people accountable utilizing the legal process? Can this just really happen like this, or are there tools that used to appear to be available to the Congress to stop this? Now, I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot fathom a Pam Bondi speaking that way to the Congress of the 80s or the 90s, coming in there insulting people. It wouldn't be accepted as appropriate, and it would be terminated in the instant. And this Congress seems to let it just roll because that's the personality of the Republican leadership, to just let it roll in all their ignorance. So it's a problem. We can only address it by informing ourselves, by becoming informed, and by being engaged in this.
Well, the rules have changed.
Yeah.
The rules have changed, and the Supreme Court has been compromised, and no one criticized them. No one is saying they've been paid with trips, and no one's investigating how much money they're getting from the right wing to vote the way they voted. Second, you have an issue with the Democratic Party. Not one has criticized Trump for funding Israel and the genocide of the Palestinians.
Not one.
Or even claim that he is genocidal himself and racist. Second, now you have an issue here, whereas the Democratic Party, they can slander them, demonize them, say none of their cities are operating, none of their states. Trump and his allies can jump up and say, you know, y'all run the worst state as Democrats. Y'all run the worst cities. And no one is criticizing the Republicans with the worst crime rate, with the worst homeless problem.
Yeah, gun violence.
And gun violence. Yep. And things of this nature. I'm just saying the aggressiveness of the Democratic Party, because they don't want to alienate the big fundraisers, the big people with the money who support both parties. They get money. Business people get money in both parties, you know that. But they don't want to offend the Jewish community. So they're going along with these new laws that I've never heard of, never thought that they would pass special laws to protect anti-Semitism. You understand?
Right.
In democratic areas. And they're passing. At universities, California State University, attack UCLA, attack SC. This is a democratic city. They already have laws saying you can't do these things to any student. But they passing special laws for Jewish students that you can't criticize genocide without it being anti-Semitic. You can't criticize Israel, who was not even an Israel until 1948.
Right.
You know, that was
only in the U.S., as Don King says, only in America.
And so I'm not,
Right.
Nick, I understand politics. I've been involved in it, as you know. They don't come and help their brothers and sisters when they're attacked. You know, I mean, but, you know, the Republican, like that lady Bondi, she was defending Trump.
Mm-hmm.
She was defending the wickedness, never
Yes.
discussed. They never even got to the real questions that they should have been asking her. Because she's
Right.
so busy charging them. Well,
Right.
you know, it was just a beautiful, thing to see. Because when you come from the streets, you understand how to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're up there, you know, just trying to be like Biden. What the law say it is, and the Constitution say this. Republicans say, we say this, and we say
And
that.
we say what the Constitution says.
Yeah, we're following the law. The law is to discriminate against everybody that ain't white, you know, and they selling that. But go ahead, Danny.
No, that's it. If you're not with us, you're against us, and we're taking you out. And that's what they've declared. And the question is whether we're going to stand up or we're going to roll over.
So what do you recommend for people to do, Danny?
Let's vote yes on Prop 50. Encourage your congressional representatives to speak up and speak out and stand up and stand out. You know, it's a shame that the one we see most often, Jasmine Crockett, is from the state of Texas. But clearly, she attempts to speak her mind and to represent with dignity what she's accomplished and what her purpose is. They're representing those whose voice needs to be heard, and that our leadership here needs to communicate in a way that it expresses both the emotion and the content and the commitment to what we think our issues are. And then the third piece is we've got to ask them to come talk to us. Don't come report to us. Don't come give us speeches about what you're doing. Come have the conversation with us about what we think, what we understand. Help us really understand what's going on, and that way empower us to be more active in this process and to help you help us.
Okay, Danny. Could you speak a little bit about the where they shut down the government, to shut down, and how you see it?
Oh, the government shutdown is just another tool. The reduction of the federal workforce impacts us in every conceivable way. From the I'll start with the toughest one, the collection of revenue through tax structures to support the programs that are out there that have been created and been legislated to support the needs of folks, all the way down through just the simple support for states and the resources for states. I mean, when you think about the Department of Health and Human Services laying folks off, who's in the Center for Disease Control, who's checking with the just now the largest outbreak of measles since the 50s in this state, in this country. When you think about the impact of the tariffs on small businesses and small in communities like ours, we're feeling it through this shutdown in ways people who were expecting to get their checks if they're federal employees, people are expecting to make sure their Social Security payments arrive on time or their Medi-Cal payments arrive on time. Those processes aren't happening because the people aren't at work. So, if you've been mailing in your payments or you've been expecting your payment, it's probably sitting somewhere on somebody's desk, or if it's in the system, it's not being automated because that person's been furloughed. And now he's talking about laying even more folks off. So the the environment from the support from the federal government that people are usually receive is going to hurt across all sectors. In businesses, for businesses who are relying on contract payments to pay their employees or to continue their business, whether you're farmers or you're manufacturers. I mean, it's in every conceivable space, even in education, not just the challenge to the universities from the Trump administration talking about, you can't teach Black history and you want to whitewash the history of this country, and you'll take away money if they continue to have DEI programs. It's not just those things. It's the basic research grants that typically come to universities. It's the support for new technologies and new resources on campuses to support the education of children, of young adults, and of adult populations. Those resources aren't being made available either. So the shutdown, while you may not feel it today, you may not have felt it yet, you'll be feeling it shortly, because its ripple effect will be that things that are customary won't be taking place.
Well, what about the health issue? The Democrats saying they're staying because they trying to cut Obamacare and all that.
Well, no, they're clearly trying to figure out to roll back the resources and the funding for Obamacare. On the side of that, what they run into, though, is that their senior population, the white Republican senior population, is now gotten accustomed to having medical services and resources available for them for their treatments, and they recognize it came through the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. So they've had to go slow because they can't figure out how to, they haven't yet gotten bold enough to say, well, we're only going to give it to white people. All right, that might be the next step, but they haven't gone there yet. So for that very reason, they're really not going to cut the funds in Affordable Care Act for Obamacare, because the impact is too specific to populations, to senior and older populations, and populations with existing medical issues who need the resources and support coming through that process. So they're going to debate it and they're going to talk about it, but I don't expect much to happen.
Well, let me just say this, Dan. Because California is a Democratic state and been that way for years, even though they elected Duke Mason, Reagan, and Schwarzenegger.
And Pete Wilson before him.
And Pete Wilson, yeah. What I see is that they're leaving out a whole lot of votes. They should be in each project registering people to vote. They should be back on the streets, registering and encouraging families to register every 18-year-old in their household. I don't see that aggressiveness. Help me, rescue me if I'm wrong.
No, you don't see it and you don't hear it.
They rely on church votes, souls to the polls, as they call it. And they rely on their traditional Democratic Party voters. And they need an influx. Like Trump went out and got the hillbillies and got small town people. I don't see that type of strategy of let's get some more votes, not just in California.
No, across the country.
Yeah, like in Detroit where he is. A lot of people frustrated and don't even pay no attention to politics. You got to re-engage them and let them know there's consequences.
Yeah.
And what Trump was telling them, because you're not voting, people of color is taking over our country.
That's
so
right.
Anyway,
that's right.
We want to thank you, Danny, for your presentation. It was excellent, as usual. And anything, we're going to put this on YouTube, and we're going to continue to spread the word, vote yes on 50.
We need to keep the conversation going.
Encourage the Democratic Party to realize that they're in a political war, not a political process.
Right.
You know, if you're waiting for them to straighten up, that's just like asking a bank robber to stop robbing banks or a crackhead to stop smoking crack. Trump them ain't gonna never stop being this Trump.
They can only be who they are.
And his followers. They don't even criticize his followers. Who let him get away with everything. How you elect? And a lot of Democrats crossed over and voted for him. How you elect a man with 34 felonies?
A lot of black men did the same thing.
Well, I agree with you, but a lot of white people did, and white women who were Democrats.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's easy.
The majority,
always criticize black people.
That's who got him in there, was the white women.
Yeah. I mean, we can always criticize us. That should be eternal, though.
Well, you told us, you know, at some point in your life, you begin to love your oppressor.
Well, collaborate with him, right? Right. Well, money will do that. Money will do that. Money will do that. It's big. Ask Clarence Thomas. Big money to sell out. You know, he's going on boat trips, getting SUVs, and you know, living the life of Raleigh off of a Supreme Court salary, living like he's a billionaire.
And
anyway,
yep. Let's not go.
Rashaki next week. I mean tomorrow.
Yes, let me show you. There you go. Dr. Inky Real. Protein for health and longer life.
Absolutely.
Good. And health is the #1 issue in the black community.
It is.
Okay. Well, Dan, again, you're always welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
you for having me.
If you can get some of your political people to come on,
yes,
tell them they need to get on our show, we appreciate it. You understand? Especially Laura, the state senator, our representative. Mike
work
Gibson,
to get some of them
his
on.
representative. They need to be more aggressive. They're sitting back thinking they can give reason why people should vote against Trump. Well, they didn't. You just said it. They didn't. I mean, he got over 87 million votes. And so why you keep thinking that with your strategy didn't get Kamala, you know, well, anyway, you know. It's, you know, if anything we can do to further the struggle, spread it around the political circle and encourage us as an outlet to help educate people, because we have hundreds and hundreds of viewers that view our YouTubes. Okay. All right, then.
All right.
Each one teach one, as Rashaki say. Go ahead, Rashaki. Take us on home.
Conscious Corner, each one teach one. Everybody have a great day continuing.
Oh, Ernest had a hand up.
Go ahead, Ernest.
No, I didn't want nothing. No, just
Okay.
breathing by.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Later.